All right, droughts and floods. What is a drought? What is a flood? And how can the dangers of floods be reduced? Okay, imagine trying to drink from a tall glass of milk through a straw no longer than a toothpick. When the level of the milk falls below the bottom of the straw, you can no longer reach the milk. In the same way, when the water table falls below the bottom of a well, the well runs dry. A water shortage may occur. As you read in Chapter 1, water shortages can be triggered by human activities, such as overuse of an aquifer. However, natural processes also can cause areas to receive too little water or conversely too much water. In this section, you'll learn what causes these conditions and how they impact people. Droughts. A certain area might receive on average enough rainfall to meet its water needs. But if the area experiences a long period of scarce rainfall, a condition known as a drought might occur. A drought reduces the supplies of groundwater and surface water without precipitation to recharge the aquifer. The amount of groundwater in the aquifer decreases. A decrease in the amount of water in the aquifer can result in a shortage of water for homes and businesses. Causes and effects of droughts. Droughts are weather-related events. They are usually caused by dry weather systems that remain in one place for weeks or months at a time. Long-term droughts can devastate a region. Droughts can cause crop failure or even widespread famine. Streams and ponds dry up, and both people and animals suffer. During the drought that struck Florida in 1998, plants withered and died. The dry conditions set the stage for drought-related fires. More than 475,000 acres burned, causing an estimate of $500 million in damage. Predicting and preparing for droughts. Droughts are difficult to predict. However, since 1980s, federal and state governments have begun monitoring soil and water conditions as well as precipitation levels. This information allows scientists to pinpoint areas that may in the near future experience droughts. As soon as the level of rainfall drops below normal, state agriculture officials might contact farmers to warn them of a possible drought. Little can be done to actually control a drought. However, people can prepare for droughts in several ways. When dry conditions first occur, people can begin conserving water. Washing cars and watering lawns, for example, are two activities that can be curtailed. Farmers can grow drought-resistant plants that have been especially bred to withstand dry conditions. In general, practicing water conservation and soil conservation ensures that when droughts do occur, the effects will be as mild as possible. Here's a drought. Europe experienced a severe drought in the summer of 2003, causing the Rhine River to dry up. The small photo shows Germany during a normal summer. Okay, that's a normal summer. This is the drought. Okay, floods. So this figure 20 here is severe flooding can leave many homes and farms underwater. Okay, so you can see how far it is underwater. Floods caused by Hurricane Katrina in 2005 were devastating. The huge, powerful hurricane hit the United States coast of the Gulf of Mexico in late August. Katrina brought 20-foot waves from the Gulf and more than 10 inches of rain to the hardest hit areas, which were in Louisiana and Mississippi. Lakes overflowed and rivers flooded. 2 weeks after the hurricane, parts of New Orleans were still under 10 feet of water and mud. More than 100,000 homes and businesses were destroyed, along with many bridges and highways. More than 1,000 people died. Cause and effects of floods. Not all floods are devastating, as those caused by Hurricane Katrina. Some cause relatively little damage. Small or large, however, all floods occur when the volume of water in a river increases so much that the river overflows its channel. As rain and melting snow add more and more water, a river gains in speed and strength. When the speed of a river increases, the amount of energy it has increases too. A flooding river can uproot trees and pluck boulders from the ground. As it overflows its banks, the powerful water can even wash away bridges and buildings. Flash floods. Sometimes we do have flash floods here in this area. Floods are the most dangerous weather-related events in the United States. Unexpected floods, called flash floods, are the most dangerous of all because the water rises very rapidly in a flash, and people have little time to reach safe ground. A flash flood is a sudden, violent flood that occurs within a few hours or even minutes of a storm. Figure 21 shows one way which flash floods can occur. So here's 51. Flash floods occur when large amounts of rain are funneled into a narrow valley. This process flooded Antelope Canyon in Arizona. Okay, so heavy rain falls on the plateaus. Instead of soaking into the hard soil, the water runs into the canyon and the rainwater is funneled into the narrow canyon and it floods. Okay, most flash floods are due to large amounts of rain. For example, a line of thunderstorms may remain over an area dropping heavy rains for several hours or days. Hurricanes or tropical storms bring downpours that quickly fill stream channels. A flash flood can also be caused by a dam breaking, releasing millions of liters of water all at once. Similarly, if ice that has jammed a river breaks free, the sudden rush of water can cause a flash flood. Some of the most dangerous flash floods occur in the deserts of the southwestern United States. For example, in 1997, a serious flash flood struck Antelope Canyon in the northern Arizona desert. On August 12th, a group of 12 hikers entered the dry, narrow canyon. The afternoon, a severe thunderstorm dropped several inches of rain into Cabeto Plateau, 24 kilometers away. Dry stream channels that drain into Cantaloupe Canyon quickly filled with rainwater. The water rushed into the canyon, creating a wall of water over 3 meters high. Only one hiker survived. Flood precautions. Despite efforts to control flooding, floods have killed millions of people around the world in the last century. In the United States alone, 20 million people live in places where flooding is likely. What can people do to protect themselves and their homes? Predicting floods. Using different types of technology, scientists can often issue flood warnings. Advanced warnings help reduce flood damage and loss. Weather satellites supply information about snow cover so that scientists can estimate how much water will run into rivers when the snow melts. Radar can track and measure the size of an approaching rainstorm. Scientists check river gauges, then measure water levels. With this information, forecasts can predict flood heights at different points along a river. Their goal is to issue warnings in time for people to prepare and evacuate if necessary. Controlling floods. For as long as people have lived near rivers, they have tried to control floods. Building dams is one method of flood control. A dam is a barrier across a river that may redirect the flow of river to another channel. It can also be used to store water in an artificial lake. Engineers can open up the dam's floodgates to release water in dry seasons. Dams work fairly well to control small floods. During severe floods, however, powerful floodwaters can wash over the top of the dam or break through it. There is also a natural defense against floods, sediments. Sediments are particles of rock and soil that are picked up and carried along by forces such as flowing water. As a river overflows, it slows down, depositing its heavier sediments along the river channel. Over time, these deposits build up into long ridges called levees. Levees that form naturally help keep the river inside its banks. People sometimes strengthen levees with sandbags or stone and concrete to provide further protection against floods. So in figure 22, trying to control a flood, these people are working together to protect their community during a flood, so they're putting sandbags on these levees. Okay, here's what happens in a flash flood. The car stalls, moving water pushes against the car. As the water rises, the car begins to float. 60 centimeters of water can wash a car away. So 60 centimeters is not very high. Okay. So dangers of a flood. Floodwaters can wash away cars. It is extremely dangerous to remain in a car during a flood. Flood safety. What should you do in the event of a flood? When the danger becomes too great or the water rises too high, people are usually evacuated. The first rule of flood safety is move to higher ground and stay away from floodwaters. If your family's in a car, the driver should not try to drive on a flooded road. Sometimes less than 60 centimeters of fast-moving water can sweep a car away. High water is not the only hazard in a flood. Floods can knock down electrical poles and wires. Downed electrical poles can leave dangerous live wires hanging loose and cause power outages. Floodwaters can also saturate soils, cause landslides or mudslides. If roads have been flooded or washed away, emergency vehicles such as fire trucks and ambulances may not be able to get through. Floodwaters can wash into wells and water treatment plants, polluting the water. Therefore, be careful with food and water that floodwaters have touched. Boiling drinking water after a flood if you are instructed to do so. Okay, that is our lesson today on droughts and floods. Your assignment is to do section 4 assessment. See you next time. Bye.